She sells happiness in glass jars. I was walking home after a long, exhausting day when out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a poster pinned to an old telephone pole. It read, "Happiness for sale in glass jars. Call today." Below was a phone number. I found it amusing and decided I'd snap a photo to show my wife later. But once I got home, I was swallowed by routine. Dinner, dishes, laundry, packing my daughter's lunch, putting her to bed, then tidying up the toys she had scattered across the living room. Every evening, the same cycle. The next morning, I woke up lying back to back with my wife. Since I always had to leave for work earlier, I quietly got up and slipped out of the house. My job was to update the company's expense report. Most days felt identical. I was essentially paid to stare at a screen for 9 hours, typing numbers into a spreadsheet. I finished my work quickly, and since it was Friday, I decided to leave a bit early. Many people do that at the end of the week. On my way home, my thoughts wandered again to my life. I did that often. In my youth, I dreamed of traveling, driving across the country, or trekking alone through Europe. But then I met Kelsey. Don't get me wrong, I loved my wife, I still do. But the spark that exists at the start of a relationship, that thrill when you first meet someone, had faded. Whether or not someone is the one, you put your personal plans aside. Relationships evolve into marriage, then a child comes along, you send her to daycare, seek a higher-paying job, work longer hours, and so on. I'm not complaining, I just wasn't truly content. I wouldn't call myself genuinely happy. I walked home along my usual route and saw that same poster again. I don't know why, but I decided to call the number. I thought it might be a joke. Maybe someone would answer and say, "I love you," then hang up, or perhaps it was an escort service number. I had no idea what to expect. I dialed, and after a single ring, someone picked up. "Hello," a female voice. Hi, I'm calling about your poster, or the ad about—" "Perfect," she answered calmly. "When would you like to pick up a jar?" I said, as if this was a completely normal question. That's when I realized I'd left work early without telling Kelsey. I could go pick it up without raising any suspicions. "I told you, happiness comes in a glass jar," she said. "It keeps best in glass, sturdier than, say, a plastic bag." "Okay, we need somewhere to meet," I said. "Sure, but let's pick a public place. I wouldn't want to meet a stranger alone, just in case you're a maniac." We agreed to meet in a Starbucks parking lot, a couple of kilometers from me. Honestly, I didn't think I was really going to buy a jar of happiness or anything like that. I was 99% sure she was selling some kind of drug. Maybe it was heroin. I even thought, great, happiness must be slang for some substance, and now I'm meeting a dealer. What if she's a cop? Still, something inside urged me to go. I did. When I arrived, I texted her. "I'm here," she replied. "Okay, I'll be there in a minute." I looked at the car. A silver Camry. When her last message arrived, I saw it pull into the lot. She parked near me. No one was in the car, which calmed a little of the irrational fear that I might get kidnapped. She opened the door, stepped onto the sidewalk, and scanned the area until our eyes met. I nodded to indicate it was me. She waved me over to her car, and I walked up. She was a young woman, about 25, with curly golden hair. Her pale skin contrasted sharply with her all-black outfit. She reminded me of Glinda, the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz, wearing what looked like the Wicked Witch's attire for some reason. "Lovely day," she said instead of hello. "Oh yes, I guess. You're the guy who called about the jar, right?" "Yeah, that's me." "Great. Here you go." She handed me a tiny glass jar, no taller than 2 inches. Something inside glowed. It wasn't a light bulb. It looked like someone had captured a sunbeam. Even in daylight, the jar shimmered like a miniature sun or a tiny universe trapped in crystal. I stared at it in awe. Cool, right? So, what is it? You seem to have asked that 3 times already. The answer hasn't changed. It's happiness. Happiness in a glass jar. And what am I supposed to do with it? "Keep it," she said simply. "If anything happens, write to me." She was about to get back in the car. "Wait," I stopped her. "How much do I owe you?" "Don't worry, dude," she smiled. "You'll pay later." She closed the door. I stepped aside as she reversed and drove away, disappearing around the corner. What the hell just happened? What was I holding? I looked at the jar again. The glow was mesmerizing. I slipped it into my pocket, and even there, light filtered through the fabric of my pants. I walked the rest of the way home. The sun was shining, but now the sky was heavy with dark clouds, and rain began to pour down the street in torrents. The forecast hadn't mentioned a drop of rain. Otherwise, I would have taken the bus or subway to work. Now I had no choice but to sprint home, trying not to get drenched. When I finally reached my building, I reached into my pocket for my keys, but as I pulled out the ring, my key wasn't there. Damn it! I can't believe I lost it again, I thought. I knocked on the door and called out loudly, "Hey babe, it's me. I don't know where my key went." From inside came the sound of a lock turning. The door swung open and a large, disheveled man with greasy hair and an unkempt goatee looked at me. "I think you've got the wrong door, buddy," he said. "Oh, sorry, my mistake. Have a good day," I stammered. He smirked and closed the door. Apartment number 33. I knew it was mine. I'd lived in 33 for 5 years. But through the open door, I could see that everything inside was different. The furniture was unfamiliar. The wall color didn't match. Nothing was as it should be. It felt like someone had hit me in the head or pumped me full of drugs. Nothing made sense. I pulled out my phone to call Kelsey, hoping she'd calm me down and tell me I was imagining things. But there was nothing. No contact, no messages, no calls, no photos. It was as if the phone had been reset to factory settings. This girl, she somehow swapped my phone, I thought. I tried to remember Kelsey's number but couldn't. I used to know it by heart, always. But now, nothing. I needed to get back to the office. All my contacts were on the work computer. The rain hadn't let up, so I took the bus. The stop was right in front of my building. During the ride, I kept staring at my soaked shoes, trying to grasp what the hell was happening. Our office building only allowed entry with a pass. I always kept mine in my wallet. Always. But of course, it wasn't there now. I pressed the intercom button used to let in guests or employees who'd forgotten their cards. "This is Tim. I think I lost my card. My employee number is..." I faltered. Blank. A voice came through the speaker. "Tim, you disappeared. Repeat your employee number." I don't remember. Okay, just give my full name and department. Finance. I work in finance. Full name. Tim Brooks. 1 second. A minute passed. Felt like 500,000 years. A couple of hours ago. What was happening to me? I felt like I was speeding through Alzheimer's disease, living every stage in a single day. I looked at my hands, unsure if I was even in my own body. The world seemed to crumble around me, and I had no control. I was just inside a stranger's head, watching everything through their eyes. Then a message came in. I immediately recognized the number. It was the girl, the one who had given me the jar. I had completely forgotten about her until I saw the SMS. "Hey, how's it going?" I stared at the screen, frozen. It enraged me that she was so casual. She knew what was happening. Somehow she orchestrated all of this. "What the hell have you done to me?" I typed. The reply came almost instantly. "The worst is yet to come." I nearly threw the phone across the street, but instead pulled the jar from my pocket. It looked exactly the same, glowing as brightly as ever. "What the hell did you do, damn it?" I shouted, realizing I probably looked insane. I stared at the shimmering glass and suddenly it hit me. I couldn't remember my wife's face. I knew her name. Maybe it started with a K or a G. I couldn't picture her. But I knew she existed. Or did she? I had a child, a daughter, a son. I couldn't remember their names, birthdays, nothing. Not a single memory. But they existed. I had seen them that morning, right? What did my wife look like? How did her hair smell? When was our first date? The wedding? The first kiss? The child? Or was it all imagined? But the girl with the jar was real. I knew that. The thought tore me apart. I couldn't recall a single detail of my life. I stood there outside the building, not even understanding why I was here. I had a job? Probably. I had to work somewhere. The rain and wind cut through me, stinging my face and cheeks. I wanted to go home. I wanted her. Warmth. I wanted to return to that damn office that kept me afloat. I wanted everything back to normal. I was soaked through, cold, insignificant. I couldn't remember my parents, my childhood. Did I even have friends? Why was I standing here in the rain? I looked down at my hand, still clutching the jar. The only memory I could clearly recall was the girl handing it to me, saying that it held happiness. But it wasn't happiness. It was pain, suffering. At that moment, I was unhappier than ever. The phone vibrated. "Break the jar, Tim." I looked up. In my other hand, the glow shone against the setting sun. The jar shone brighter than the streetlights. I smashed it. Not because she told me to, but because I was angry. Because I was hurting. I needed to release it. I lifted my arm and hurled the jar down. It shattered on the concrete at my feet. The cold wind and rain vanished as if swept away by an explosive wave. And I found myself at the epicenter. I saw the warm yellow light from inside the jar spill across the floor and soar into the sky. It was like witnessing the birth of the universe, as if God had snapped his fingers and said, "Let there be light." The glow surrounded me completely. I no longer saw the street, felt the rain, or noticed the darkness. It felt as if I were flying toward a star, moving faster than the speed of light. The sensation was like sitting by a fireplace on a cold winter night. Yet the warmth spread through every cell of my body. Then I blinked. I felt disoriented, and a gentle touch on my back told me I was no longer alone. My wife's hand. Morning sunlight poured through the window, caressing my face. I got out of bed and grabbed my phone. It was Friday morning. One single message flashed on the screen. "Let me know if you ever need another jar." I called work and said I was sick. Then I tiptoed into my daughter's room, kissed her, and whispered that she didn't need to go to kindergarten today. Today is family day. She smiled, curled up, and fell back asleep. I returned to bed and held my wife tightly, not letting go for hours. Eventually, our daughter woke us, bouncing on the bed and shouting for us to get up. Yesterday, this would have driven me insane. Yesterday, everything annoyed me. The routine, the monotony, the boredom. But not today. Today, I pulled her under the covers and placed our daughter between Kelsey and me. Today was a good day. Today, I was happy. Something had gone differently with my heart transplant. I'd always had a weak heart, not just physically. I'd feared my own shadow my whole life, so no one was surprised when doctors told me that the noise in my heart was more than just noise. A year of tests, a year of therapy, endless trips to the hospital, and then they told me it had all been for nothing. My poor, fragile heart wouldn't make it to Christmas. It's a strange feeling to learn you're dying. At first, I couldn't accept it. I drank, spent all my money, did reckless and stupid things out of sheer terror. Then I received unexpected news. A young woman named Laura had died, and I, the lucky one, was going to receive her heart in a week. I went to the hospital, carefully preparing for the ordeal. On the last night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about Laura. Every time I closed my eyes, her name flashed in my mind like a new neon sign. It felt wrong. I knew it was wrong, but I needed to see the woman giving me her heart. It seemed unfair not to know the face of the person saving my life. I knew her name, knew the room she was in. By eavesdropping on a conversation between two nurses, I slowly walked down the long, winding corridor, afraid I'd missed the right door. Now I had time. I found her in the second room from the end of the hall. Laura lay on the hospital bed. A woman sat beside her, holding her hand. My weak heart froze. "Sorry, I didn't know what to say. I'm Jenna. My operation is tomorrow," I said. The woman I'd taken for Laura's mother stood up. I could see in her eyes that she understood who I was. "Thank you for coming. I know this is strange, but part of Laura will live in you. I wanted to see you." I stood there, helpless, unsure what to say. Laura's mother beckoned me with her hand. "Please, don't feel awkward. She wouldn't have wanted that." I sat on the chair beside Laura. "How's she?" I faltered. It was too heavy, too terrifying a question to ask. Laura's mother gave me a sad smile. She had been a social worker, helping women who had survived abuse, saving those with nowhere else to go. Last month, she had met a man and, well, I suppose no years of preparation can help if you fall in love. She hadn't noticed the warning signs, and he killed her. She devoted her life to those who needed her. She let her gaze linger. I didn't know why, but I covered Laura's hand with mine and squeezed it. "I'm so sorry. I had a boyfriend like that too. But someone like Laura came into my life and convinced me to leave." Laura's mother smiled sadly again. I saw tears in her eyes. Suddenly, Laura squeezed my hand hard, her fingers digging into my skin. I flinched, horror frozen on my face. Laura's mother looked at me calmly. "She sometimes squeezes my hand. The doctors say it's just muscle spasms." Regardless, nothing remained in me. I looked at the tiny fingernail marks already starting to bleed on my palm. The operation went perfectly. I was taken to the recovery room and the surgical wound on my chest was covered with gauze. Good thing I can't see her, I thought. I don't need any more heart trouble. On the first day, I was packed with painkillers, barely ate, and struggled to sit up a few times. They assured me recovery would be long and there was no need to rush. Laura's mother came to see me the day before discharge. Her composure didn't falter, but I could see the suffering inside. She looked 10 years older. When she hugged me, I felt her hands tremble. "When are you going home tomorrow?" she asked. "Please come whenever you want," I replied. I started writing down my address for her when out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a flash of light slip past the door. Golden hair, just like Laura's. I screamed suddenly, as if someone had squeezed my hand so hard the bones might snap. Laura's mother rushed to me. Concern froze in her eyes. "What happened to your heart?" she stammered, realizing what she said. I tried to calm her. She promised to tell the doctors and then left, glancing back anxiously. When I looked down next to the marks Laura had left on my palm, 10 new identical bleeding smiley faces had appeared. I quickly got a taxi home. I barely had time to take in my surroundings before I was back in my apartment. It felt strange trying to return to my old life. The last time I'd been here, I had very little time left to live. I looked around at the mess, the cardboard boxes, remnants from the night I had packed my things in tears so my parents wouldn't have to after my death. Laura's heart was beating so fiercely it felt like it would leap out of my chest. The feeling was constant, and I realized that this was probably what people with healthy hearts felt like. But why couldn't I shake this strange sense of unease? That night I had a dream. Laura lay in her hospital room, but her mother was nowhere to be seen. I could hear my heartbeat, Laura's heartbeat. It was unbearably loud. I tried to cover my ears, but my hands were pinned to my sides. Some inexplicable force pulled me toward Laura's still figure on the bed. Her lips were blue, and the window was wide open. Wind tossed strands of her blonde hair across her face. I was very close when her eyes opened. They were milky white, the eyes of the dead. "Get out!" she rasped in a low, animalistic voice. My heart pounded faster and faster until I felt I couldn't bear it, and I woke up. The sound was real. Laura's heart thumped so loudly it seemed to shatter my eardrums. I screamed in pain, covering my ears with my hands. Useless. The sound was coming from deep inside me, echoing in the empty space of my chest. Staggering and gasping for air, I scrambled out of bed and frantically searched for my phone. I needed to call someone. Anyone. An ambulance, my mom, anyone who would answer. Through the dull roar of Laura's heartbeat came a barely audible whisper. A low, animalistic voice that wasn't human, choking me as I lay on the floor, clutching my chest. My eyes bulged in horror. A neighbor drove me to the hospital, and I cried the entire way in the passenger seat. After roughly 50 tests, the doctors declared that I was fine. They said my heart beat evenly, my blood pressure was normal, and everything looked perfect. I stood in the waiting room, drowning in shame and despair. This heart did not belong to me. My phone vibrated, a call from an unknown number. Perfect, just what I needed. Another scary, inexplicable thing like a UFO call from someone I didn't know. I whispered, "Hello? Good morning, this is the MS Valley Police. We're calling regarding an incident in your apartment around 1 a.m. A chill ran through me. "I'm so sorry, I just had surgery. I wasn't feeling well and asked a neighbor to drive me to the hospital. I may have caused unnecessary panic in the hallway before leaving." A short silence followed on the other end. "You should probably sit down," the voice continued. I could feel Laura's heartbeat, strong and steady. "There was an attempted break-in. Your apartment was accessed by a Samuel Matthews. According to our records, he is your ex-partner, and in September 2017, you obtained a restraining order against him." My blood ran cold. "Yes, he is in custody. He was armed with automatic weapons, and we believe he intended to harm you. An officer is currently stationed outside your apartment and will inform you of everything when you return from the hospital." I thanked him and hung up. For a moment, I leaned against the wall, letting the horror fully wash over me. If I'd stayed in my apartment 10 more minutes, we would have crossed paths. Laura's heartbeat filled my ears again, but this time it was soft, calming. Her mother had said that Laura dedicated her life to helping those in need. Overwhelmed with gratitude, I placed both hands on my chest and listened to Laura. The road trip. Never sleep in the car during a road trip. I'm from Connecticut. I had a long-distance relationship with a girl from Georgia, and I often drove to see her. I didn't mind at all. I love traveling by car. I've driven across America and back completely alone. There's an incredible sense of freedom, just driving on the highway, alone with the road. To save money, I slept in the car. There's nothing wrong with that. It's basically camping, but in a metal tent, quite atmospheric. You feel like a true traveler. Just recline the seat, leave the key in the ignition for safety, and sleep. No, I don't cover the windows for privacy. The trip south usually took me 2 days. I typically stopped around the Virginia-North Carolina border. This time, everything went along the usual route, and I was looking for a place to sleep. I preferred rest area parking lots, fewer people, quieter than truck stops. I usually chose Love's. But this time I was so tired that I pulled into the first spot I found. That night, there were almost no cars, just a couple dimly lit under yellow streetlights. Probably travelers like me. To be more secluded, I parked under a tree, away from the lights. I locked the doors, cracked a window for airflow, left the key in the ignition, reclined the seat, and closed my eyes. No one had ever bothered me during these nights, so I expected nothing different this time. Then I was awakened by a sharp knock. At first, I thought it was a dream. I opened my eyes, confused, seeing only the car ceiling. The knocking continued. Something light and solid hit the glass, but with no rhythm. I tensed. Maybe it was rain, or water dripping from a tree, or a squirrel or bird dropping something on the car. But what if it wasn't an animal? The thought that it could be a person sent a cold shiver down my spine. The doors were locked, the key in the ignition. I could drive off if needed. But I froze, pretending to sleep, hoping whoever it was would leave. Better not to know. The knocking persisted. I had to act. I couldn't just lie there. My heart raced so loudly it felt like the person outside could hear it. I gathered courage and lifted my head to see what it was. What I saw filled me with pure terror. Every muscle in my body froze. The faint streetlight revealed her. On the hood of my car, pressed against the windshield, lay a woman. She stared directly at me. Her face didn't move, frozen in a horrifying grin. Her eyes were rolled back, showing only white. Her nose pressed against the glass at an unnatural angle. Her lips stretched into a wide smile, revealing rotting teeth. Even in the dark, I could see her skin was pale to the point of illness. Long, tangled black hair draped over the windshield. I had no idea how long I just sat there, paralyzed with shock. Finally, I gathered strength and reached for the ignition. The car started, the most beautiful sound of my life. For a moment, I thought I was living a horror movie cliché, where the car won't start just as the killer approaches. I slammed it into reverse, not letting the lunatic touch me. Out of fear, I accidentally turned on the wipers as if it would help drive her away. I thought I might leave with some psycho clinging to my hood, but then she jumped down. She landed on all fours. I barely had time to react before I floored the gas. I saw her hand reaching for the driver's door, then I was gone from the lot. A piercing, bestial scream came from behind. I glanced in the rearview mirror, and for a moment it seemed she was running after the car on all fours. Her black hair whipped wildly. I couldn't make out her form clearly. I merged onto the highway, picking up speed. I didn't stop for the rest of the night. I waited for only one thing, the first rays of sunlight.